whenever you're here, tell me where you're watching from. I hope you're doing well. It's a cold morning. Yeah, it rained in some parts. It didn't rain in other parts though. It's cold generally. So today we're going to be talking about your car as a business or for income generation. Yeah. So we've had a number of videos with Ali for about the taxi business. Then I did a video with the Matuga Muzei that has a lorry, and yeah, he gave us his opinion. Then one day I was doing a live. I also did talk to a number of guys that were at a stage, at a truck stage, lorry stage. And but all of those opinions were in Uganda, and I've received a number of people saying, okay, okay, of course they say it in English because apparently for them they don't understand English. This includes a number of foreigners that that came to Uganda as foreigners, and they want to actually venture into the transport business, but they did not get to understand all the videos that I did that were in Uganda. But also I realized there are certain aspects of the trans business that good morning, Brian. Thank you for being present. I understand there are certain aspects of you actually doing the transport business yourself that probably we haven't really explored, and yeah, but of course I get a number of my followers that come and they want to, for example, come back to Kampala. They don't want to go back abroad, and they want to join the transport business, but they don't have as much money to buy a taxi or to buy a truck, and they don't want to invest in borders. Yeah. On average, a border gives you 10k. 10k for not 365 days. Good morning, Martha. The border gives you 10k for 6 days. For 6 days, I think, yeah. 6 days. And that means it gives you 240,000 every month. That means it gives you 2.4 plus 480, 8 million shillings every year. And off of the 2.8 million, off of the 2.8 you need to deduct of course if you buy a third-party insurance for that person, if you pay service, if you buy tires at least once or twice a year, because remember this bike is going to be moving constantly every day. That means you may end up spending the 800. Means that motorbike gives you 2 million every year. It means for you to recoup your investment, you can chances are high that Bajivuga will be. So it means that for you to recoup your investment of 5 million or 5.5, you need a minimum of 2.5 years to just get back the money that you invested in the border. You get, and by 2.5 years, chances are high that the border will be unrideable anymore. So the border business, in a way, for me personally, like I say, these are my opinions. The border business hasn't made sense for me yet. Okujakonga, you have bought an old pitchy given to someone as a border. You bought the old pitchy at like 1.5, and if they give you 1 million, 10k every day, and they give you 2.4 a year, that That is if they give you all the money. Give you 2.4 a year. Even if you spend 800, your 1.5 will be out in that year, and then you still have the pichi to sell about 800 or 700. So all the pichi would actually work better if it's in good condition. And normally at 1.5 you'll find that it's still in condition that could be rideable. So for me, personally, the boda business hasn't made sense. And there was a time a friend of mine had a boda, had 3 of them actually, and he gave them to guys. And at that time when he gave them away, I was thinking to myself, damn, this guy is going to be making, he's going to be making 30k daily for nothing. Okay, for his bodas, of course, but that's like an investment. You know, there's nothing that beats making daily income. That's why most of the guys that we see as rich in Kampala are rich, because they make money daily. They have things that bring in money every day. You find a guy that has a building in Kampala and he collects money from the toilet every day. So the toilet alone gives him about 300,000 every day. You get. And then he collects money for rubbish from you guys still. You get. And you find that from rubbish and or from the toilet alone, he makes about 4 million a month. You get, before you give him the rent. Those are the guys of the buildings. So nothing beats daily income. So whenever someone can actually create a daily income stream, it would do them well. You get. But some daily income businesses, you need to really be keen. Like that friend of mine that I'm telling you about, that bought 3 pichis, gave them to guys who ride bodas. It's a funny story what happened to him. These 3 pichis, the first guy rode the bike. They paid him for 2 weeks. Everyone was paying honestly. And then in the 3rd week, the first boda rode the boda to Masaka, and he was nowhere to be seen for like 3 weeks, late for 3 weeks. The next guy was in Kampala, but he could not be traced. He was not picking the phone calls at all. Then the other guy just came and dropped the pichi at this guy's place, but it was faulty. He could not give it to someone else. So you realize that in 5 weeks, all his bodas, of course they were not new, but they were in good condition. So you realize that he was paid 3 weeks, and in 5 weeks he was no longer making money from his pichis. You get. So the boda business is also quite complicated. I think the people that can actually manage the bodas are the ones that are in the business themselves, and that they are also riding. Remember when we were talking to this guy, I don't remember his name, in the video where I talked about the live that I did one evening, where I talked about the lorry business, and this guy was telling you that you could actually make money from the truck, from the lorry business, but that means you'd have to drive the lorry yourself. You get. You'd have to ride the lorry yourself. If you don't, chances are high that you're going to actually get into conflict with someone, because you'll not be making money. You get. So I think the same thing applies to bodas. You can get a new boda, give it to someone, and still you'll not be able to recoup your investment, because you get, and just like that you've lost 5 million. Yeah. So, but I'm not discouraging you from investing in that, because there are people that have actually made money. There are people that have over 10 bodas. That means he makes 100,000 a day. You get, and that means he makes every 3 months he recoups money for one boda. If he makes 3 million, that means every 2 months he makes 6 million. That means actually every 2 months he recoups money that he used to buy a boda. So if he has 10, he needs 30. He needs 3 months times 10, about 30 months to recoup all the money you get. So for someone that has a lot of bodas, you cannot compare them to someone that has 1 or 2. I think it makes sense. But the boda is one avenue that you could actually join the boda business with. For the guys that probably, if you have a bro or you yourself don't have something to do now, the boda is actually one avenue for people to actually make money now you make a daily income, feed your family as you try to figure out your next step. I also bought it, but the guy brought me 10K only and stayed with it for a week. I decided to take it from him. It's now packed. Yeah, but Martha, don't you think you were a little impatient? 1 week you give up business like that. I think, Martha, you gave up quickly. You know, let me tell you how business operates if you don't know. And I think that's why Ugandans give up very quickly. We as Ugandans, we give up very quickly. Normally, a business breaks even in 5 years. Regular businesses break even in 5 years. And the break even is okujjayo sente zowateekamu gye bayita break even. Break even. You see, when people cross the road and you give them, they actually thank you because it's a rare thing. So I'm still saying about the break even. Normally businesses break even in 5 years. Some businesses don't even break even up to 10 years. But normal businesses normally break even in 5 years. But that's for you to recoup. Business, the business can stand on its own. It can pay its employees. Now I'm going to start eating profits. Normal businesses actually break even in 5 years. But I think it's because in our culture, okay, not our culture, the economy in Uganda and the business environment and how things work in Uganda, you'll find that most of the times as Ugandans, we don't have the time to wait for the business to break even. We don't have 5 years. Like normally people start businesses to survive. They don't start businesses for business itself. So you'll find that a person doesn't actually have 5 years to wait around for a business to break even. You get, and I think that's what happened to you, Martha. I'll give you an example. This is a story I've had. I cannot say I've verified it. That when Bukede TV was starting, all the capital for 5 years was laid down. The money that needed to run that TV station for 5 years was there. But because Bukede TV came and in 2 years, it's too good. That's good business for a business to break even in 2 years. You get. That's why I say you need 2.5 years for you to recoup the money you invested in a new border. But normally by 2.5 years, the border itself is not in good condition. So by that time, you need to sell it and buy another border. You get. And for me, I figure that that's not a very good business model for you to keep on changing. Because then the border itself has not given big profit. What you would count as profit is the money you recoup from selling the border. You get. So whenever you start a business, for the guys that probably that hope to come back to Uganda and start a business, that's why business is very hard. Because for us as Ugandans, normally when we start business, we don't really have the capital to run us for the 5 years that is needed for a business to break even. We don't even have a business plan. You get that I'll do this and this and this and this year I expect to make this much money. This year I expect to make this much money. Normally the business plans scare people. When you look at business plans realistically, you'll find that most of the times when people start making business plans, that's when they give up. Because the business plan actually shows you the reality. To recoup your money, you need 7 years. But however, the 7 years you'll need to run the business normally. You need to hire the employees that you need. You need to do this, you need to do this. And normally you figure that for you to run that business for 5 years, you need about 200 million. So and normally that's when Ugandans give up on business. You get it? And that's why you find that in the US, not everyone starts a business. Because business is not for everyone. Because business is hard. You get it? Being self-employment is something else, but owning a business and you know that business is going to be actually making you money, that's another thing. And yeah, so all the big businesses we see, Airtel, MTN, all the big banks, they actually had money aside to run their businesses for like 5 years, 6 years. That's how business would work. That's how business works in the real world. You develop a business plan that covers a period of 5 to 10 years, and then you know how much you need to run that business until it breaks even, and then you collect the capital. Safe Border has not yet broken even. Jumia has not yet broken even. And you realize the Safe Border has been in Uganda for so long. Jumia has been in Uganda for so long. You get Rocket Health. Now I'm telling you some of the businesses that seems to be big that someone would think, guy nanyini akola sente. They are not making money yet. Majority of the apartments you see in Nigeria, the guys have not yet recouped their money. Normally, apartment owners recoup their money in 10 years or 9 years. You get, but that's how business works. After 9 years, abajeyo sente ziyateka mukati natandika okulya ku magoba. You get it? So that's how business works. Era ne bono bogenda kola transport business, you need to know that that's how it's going to be working. You need to give yourself a salary if you're going to be an employee in that business. For example, for the Uber guys, when I did Uber, I realized that Uber was not a business that you're going to be doing and you grow in it. You need to make a lot of money. For example, recoup the money that bought the car, you get, and then you start making profit. That's how it works. Uber is not a business that is going to, but the taxi business can actually do that. You get the truck business. I think the moment a business has people that are not that organized in it, things change. You get. That's when you realize that. That's when you realize that people are telling you things like okujja kongo ojevugide, okujja kongo okoze bwoti tejja kukolera genda kola losi. So that's what happens normally when a business when a business is disorganized, when an industry is disorganized, you'll find that there's no organized business that can actually operate the way business should be operating. I'm a performing artist, but even in the arts, you see all those artists, they are not really that organized. That's why you'll find that tosobola kusanga muntu nga akola business no muntu omulala. If it's Charles Mohanji, it's Mohanji and Mohanji for himself. If it's Alex Mukulu, it's Alex Mukulu and Alex Mukulu for himself. You get it? It's very hard for you to find partnerships in the arts businesses. Yeah, I forgot my glasses and we were late. I could not go back to pick them. So sidabawala by chirunji yeah. So it's very hard to find people that actually can run partnerships. Into we are 4 owners. It's very hard. You get because people cannot wait. You will find that a visionary understand about business, they cannot actually wait. You get, but if we had the people that actually understood how business operates in Uganda, many young people would be making money, and they don't, because I understand that there are so many people that can actually start business here, but they don't have enough capital to run the business for the time it needs to run before it gets profitable. You get, and you'll find that instead of breaking even in 5 years, you find that they never really break even because they never really have enough capital to help them break even. You get kakati atetuze mu business knowledge okitegera, but it's important that we understand these things nga tondaba kuyingira ate business ya transport. You get, so a business on average takes 5 years, but how many of you guys watching can actually wait for 5 years for a business to break even? If you, for example, if you came and partnered with Arthur Nogamba, okay Arthur, let's do this business, can you wait for 5 years nga tondaba kutandika kusaba magoba? Which is impossible. You guys have, if you're on social media, you've been seeing this guy T Amari. He's asking for dividends from a business that was started in 2020. You get, He's Bezonto. He's saying this guy is by no kumpa my profits because the director, but give you profits from which business venture that makes profits in 2 years. You get, not that because Bezonto they don't have daily income, even if he was still a director, which I doubt. Because the way he left, any sane business people would actually register a new business and forget about this person. I'm sure that's what they did. But on average, whether you come to Uganda to start a business and you have a lot of capital or very little capital, I need you to understand that a business in Uganda takes on average 5 years. Not just in Uganda, worldwide. A business takes 5 years to break even. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. 5 years. Ogamba nti kati sente zenna ssaamu ziweddeyo zonna. You get, ate Bizonto are not funny. They used to be funny when they had just started, but not anymore. I think they when they were just coming, they had a unique approach to art. They had a unique approach which made them funny. But I think with the time they lost their touch. I also think that Dr. Tia Amale was a very big big addition to the team. So when he went, his creativity went with him, and he can also not stand on his own. Zone to a bigger team, so they will definitely be doing better than. Hey, you're holding your brother. You're holding your brother. Good. So you guys need to understand that whether you start a business alone or you start it with someone else, it will take you if you run the business the right way. Of course, you can break even in a year and you start making profit. But I'll tell you that majority of businesses in Kampala don't make profit. They are still breaking even. But because most people in Uganda are survivors, we don't start business to do business. You realize that most businesses, when someone dies, the business dies with them. Because the business did not actually have capital to run it on its own. The owner maneuvered around. You get it? The owner maneuvered around. And when he left, the people that stayed could not maneuver around anymore. They could not. They were out of touch. Tebamanyi how they can maneuver without the owner, because you will realize that if Arthur starts a theater group, for example, olumu ngenda nenewola sente nensingayo kadi y'emmoroka yange, olumu nensingayo ekyapa kyange, olumu nensingayo endagaano yange, and I bring money and I make things happen. Now when I die, it does not matter how bright the people that stay are. It is very hard for people to actually know how I maneuvered. Assets. So normally that's what happens in Uganda. We are survivors. Either you find someone in Oba Mugaza land, but you find that they are not making profit. They are simply surviving. Amagoba gakola gali, amagoba gakola gali. Uruweza oku magoba negaweda. Ngagenda agule moroke Japan. You get it? You will find that the moment utasobola kuwola actually kuweza million. I know someone that lent me things nagenda ogula ebintu, and I paid 600 nasigalanga esigala manja emitwalo nga 25, and I thought okay, I could hold this credit for like 2 weeks. Wabadde wakaita wiki nankubira. You get it? Ngazagala bubi nnyo, because his business might not survive the next month without that money. Ochitegera idea 250,000 shillings should be little. You give me that check and I try to cash it, try to bank it today. But if it's unbankable, I'm going to write a letter to follow. So so you guys need to understand that majority of businesses in Uganda are actually surviving before you come and actually try to start a business. So the guys that are going to start a truck taxi business, just know for the first 5 years you'll be trying to recoup your investment. So bino byonna byonna ebijjamu, simanya taxi, food day, simanya bagikubira popular, all those are business hazards, those are business risks. Those things happen because it's a business. Okitegeera. So otandika okugamba emmotoka endya ssente eyina okuzirya. So when you're starting, and this is something that we also cover in the marketing training, for people to understand that aleme kubeerawo ng'amanyi nti things will work out automatically. Okitegeera. We have to have all. If you start a business, what are the kind of risks? That's why most people actually build apartments, because they know if I build apartments and I pay property tax every year, teri agenda kunsumbuwa. That's why most guys that have a lot of money go and build apartments. For 10 years, yes, I'll be getting my money back, money back. But after 10 years, I'll start eating my money. After that, no one will disturb me as long as I pay property tax, as long as I file my returns. You get it? So it's important for you to understand before you enter the taxi business. Mazeda chikabiri ngangeza kukuba nnyonnyola bino ebintu, so that so I have to get you get another border rider, Martha. Oleme kujira. You should only not biganye probably nga pitch bajononye beyond repair, because that's how business operates. You get it? Even when you start a school, me when I started my institute, I knew it would not break even for 5 years. I did the math. I did not have all the money to make things happen, but I knew that if I could get money here and there, The only unfortunate thing is that the lockdown took it with me, because I didn't I didn't have capital to survive after that. You get, but and also if I had capital, I would not do it again for now, because the economy is very unstable. That's why I'm doing the trainings on my individual basis, because the economy is unstable. Nkugambe Tulabanti, I'm doing the training at 160, but still people will come and cry. Yes, I will. You want to drink some?
Yes.
Okay, drink. I opened for you. Wait, let me shake. Okay, you drink. So you need to understand, whenever you're starting a business, Kalibede Duka retail shop, you need to actually do the math. Most people don't do this math. And it's the reason why people get stressed. It's the reason why people passing into a bank, because I guess to make things work in a period that they can't. It's very hard to find a business that makes even in a year. But you'll find chovola bantu batuba ne bateka mbiri ebintu QIT, what was this thing that people invested in a million buli lunaku. It's impossible. You imagine if Bukede TV, which is a government TV station, all government entities are obligated to actually advertise with Bukede or a Vision group thingy, but still it broke even in 2 years. And then they had all the capital to hire the best employees. You get, Bye. And of course, there are businesses that don't really share their financials, like NBS and all. You'll find that probably NBS broke even in 6 years. You get, you find that NTV broke even in 8 years. Kakati bonobo gendo kuja, you want to start it. The problem is the guy rides it and get money for his family, spoil it and complain that he wants me to repair, yet he didn't give me money. That's I think Martha, this is what should happen. Ideally, when you get a border guy, you should make them pay in advance. You want to take my border, buri week jisasure in advance. This you're starting this week, pay for my week today. If you want to start Monday, pay for my week on Sunday. Okay, so that next Sunday you bring the money for next week. Ideally, that's what we should be doing as business owners, to avoid stress. You get, for us to avoid stress, that's what we should be doing. But because n'abantu bennyini bogenda okuwa your motorcycle naye yeeyiya n'abeewe balekati balina na kyakulya, so they can't get 60k. So I think what we should do, this is what I used to do for my cars, for the Uber cars that I had. I tell you that the only person that gave me problem and didn't pay is the person that I didn't do this for. So get a national ID, original national ID agikuleetere. Let them give you their original national ID. And the other thing is, don't give your border to a person that doesn't have a border permit, a driving permit, or a license. Why? Because it's people like that spoil a lot. Ekisoka oluma ajja kujono nanga agezako kudduka ba traffic. You get, trying to rush to run away from traffic officers, then he'll spoil your border. You get, and then because he already doesn't have a driver's license, he doesn't even feel the need to work on the other requirements. You get, he will not encourage you to buy third party. He will not encourage you to put new tires. He will not even get because he already doesn't have a driver's license. So he'll be arrested either way. So make sure that the person you give your motor vehicle has a driver's license, and keep their national ID, because I realize the national ID is one very precious thing in Uganda. Keep their national ID, at least with their national ID, and then you guys should normalize the practice of actually signing agreements with people, with lawyers. A lawyer will charge you about 100,000. You can contact Council Yunus, for example, to draft that agreement for you. An agreement that someone also kuba, they think about it on signings in you get, sign agreements with them, and then keep their national ID. Then you can even know where they stay. What time is it? It's 7:50. So that even know where they stay. For border guys, of course they can shift in the night, because majority of border guys are actually, they have nothing in the house to lose if they decided to shift. You get it? But that's something for you to think about. Kubanga, it's But anyway, kati chicha business then for you to break even, you need a minimum to count a minimum of 5 years. Oboguze motoka 10, oboguze motoka 2, oboguze motoka 1. You get. I think that's why when you're going to buy a car for business, it's important that you buy a car that will not die. Because the moment you get a lot of problems with the cars, and for majority of the time it's in the garage, yet it's a commercial vehicle, then you'll get problems of the break-even period will actually extend. Instead of 5 years, then you have to calculate 7 years. I hope I'm clear, guys. Kakati, I think that's why Ali was saying, if you're going to buy a taxi of 25 million. Okay? Buy a Chigege of 25 million. Because 25 million, that Chigege is at like a number plate of UBE, and chances are high that it's still in very good condition. He was also not encouraging anyone to buy a used drone. Don't buy a used drone. I'm repeating it. Don't buy a used drone. This is from a guy that has taxis. He has been in taxi business for long. He's saying don't buy a used drone. Don't buy a used drone. You get why? It's easier to maintain to fix a used Chigege than it is to fix a used drone. You get. So you need to understand, but normalize agreements, normalize taking original national IDs, okay? So that things of bringing your and also in the agreement, of course, there should be clauses. What do you work on and what don't you work on? Because if I service the car properly, if for example someone is driving your car and they hit the oil cranks and the oil pours and the engine blows, they should be liable to this. Because if I maintained my car properly and you broke the cranks and the engine blew, this is not because the car was in bad condition. This is you. You should be liable. You get. If for example you're driving a car, it's in good condition and you knock a border, why am I obligated to pay everything? You should also be liable to pay something. You get. But all these things come because you don't do a gentleman's agreement. You sit down with someone, draft an agreement if you don't want to involve a lawyer, but I encourage that you involve a lawyer always, and then draft agreements. You get. I think we have covered the first part of the taxi business, your car as a business. Kati, we talked to Ali, who has been in the taxi business for like more than 15 years. You get. His father was in the taxi business, his grandfather was in the taxi business. Now, if you understand Luganda and you have not watched Ali's video for taxi, you can search it in the channel. It's there. You can go and look for that video. Then you will see what Ali had to say about the taxi business. But if you don't understand Luganda, because it will be a very nice thing for you to watch this video and see him talking, you read his body language and all. But if you did not, you don't understand Luganda, or you don't want to look for that video, you prefer watching this, just understand that for you to start a taxi business, according to Ali, who is in the business, you need a minimum of 25 million. Okay? That's for the taxi itself. But the good thing is that 25 million, you get a taxi that is already on the road. Okay? Or like that one. But UBE at 25 million. It's already on the road. The only thing you do is get for it a driver. Sorry, network, Airtel again. So, give you 80,000 every day, Monday to Saturday. Okay? But Sunday is the driver's day to make money out of it. Sunday is not your day. And he also says that on the days that the car is in the garage, the taxi is in the garage, those days you have to renegotiate with the driver how much he pays you. Those days he doesn't bring 80,000 to you because the car has been in the garage for part of the day. You get. Then he also says that good morning, Mr. Rakajeka. Okay, Joseph. And he also says that you are responsible for service and repairs. Okay? You're responsible for service and repairs. And he also says that if you buy this taxi and you want it to work on a particular road, it means you'll have to pay for a stage. Okay? But he says that if you don't want to pay for the stage, just get a driver who already has a stage and just give them the car. So you're eliminating the payment for the stage. Okay? Yeah. So and he also says that whenever a car goes to the police of course you're responsible for getting it out of there regardless of what, because it's your car. So that's another cost that you need to understand, you need to factor in when you're buying a taxi for business. Okay, so it's important that you understand there are those expenses that will come in all the time. So for me, my personal opinion is that if you have a problem with my YouTube Samsung phone getting heated up, let me put it out of the charger. I think that's one mistake I made. So you guys, we are talking about the taxi business, and I was saying that I recommend that you get a mature driver, because most of the times those big men, or those old men, mature men, they don't they are not over ambitious with money, they are not over ambitious with time. So you'll find that even when you look at the accidents that happen on the road of taxis, you'll find that most of the time it's young drivers of about 28, 30, 33, you get. But mature men always try to go slow, because he's not chasing anything anymore. Even if he's not as successful as he wants to be, most of the times they are satisfied with their level of success. So it's important that we understand that. So that's the taxi business. Startup capital, if you have one taxi, highly recommended 30 million startup capital, and with that 30 million you use the 25 million to buy a taxi, and you keep 5 million for maybe keeping it on the road in case it breaks down, without actually getting part of the money that it makes. So let's understand that startup capital for taxi business, the recommended amount is 30 million if you're going to buy a used taxi, which you might buy at around 25 million or even less sometimes. But if you want to buy a new taxi, a new drone is about 80 million, I think. Hi Isaac. A new drone is about 80 million. And the new Chigege is about 90 to 100, depending on where you buy it from, because those Chigeges are no longer coming. I think they don't come into the country anymore, and yet it's the most durable one for taxi business, you get. So so always remember that when you're going to start a taxi business. And the taxi business, for me personally, I think it will do for you. I highly recommend it. It's one business that you can monitor. I find it to be safer than a border, but of course it has higher startup capital, because with your Chigege you can actually have a tracking device installed there, even with the border. Yeah, but the border can because it brings 10k, the amount of money you spend to go looking for it, but the Chigege is something else. So I think I recommend the Chigege if you have the money, the 30 million for you to start up. I'm thinking sometimes you can even start with less. You can even buy a taxi less than 25 million and have it on the road breaking down like ever, and you still make your 80,000 a day, you get. So I recommend the Chigege business, because that one, I know people that are doing it. But of course, don't be lied to. There are people that have failed to make it in the Chigege business. They have failed to make money out of it, even when they bought new cars. The other approach you could use in the transport business, if not Chigege, you could buy a Costa or a bus if you have money. But from what I understand from my audience here, we don't have that much money yet, okay, to buy a Costa or a bus, because you can get a Costa at around 50 million used. Yeah, but I've also realized that Costas kind of die a bit more than Chigeges. By the way, does it make sense to buy a 7-seater for Uber, or small cars work better? Small cars get more trips, definitely, but even the trips for small cars reduced, you get. So but you can, because the price for you to buy a small car is the same price to buy a big car. And a big car, if you're going to be doing Uber and other things as well, transport wise, in Uganda, call an special, you want off Uber trips, you want to get Uber clients and then convince them to use you off Uber, a bigger car is always better, you get. If you buy a car solely for Uber, you may be disappointed. So I don't want you to get disappointed. Strictly for Uber. So also you can also buy Costa if you have the money, or bus. But let's get away from that. There is another approach that is not just Chigege. you see schools have tours, and also schools have students that are in this school. There is another approach that you could buy a taxi or a van and use it to transport kids. You go to a school and request them, I have my van, can you give me permission to ferry kids from school and back to school tomorrow morning? And then you see their requirements, and then they give you a route. You get. I've not done that before, so I don't know how profitable that is, but I'm thinking it could actually work for you also, because your working time is morning and then evening. Then during the day you can do other things. You get. This works for people who have other small businesses, like you have a wholesale shop, or you have a shop, or during the day you have another shop in town. So in the morning you go ferry your kids no batwala ku masomero, then no man of Gemorka no gena no kuri. Sawa mwenda, you come back and then ferry kids again. You get. I don't know if that makes sense. That's another approach for the transport business, and that one can even work for a person that has a wish. You get. That one is not limited to people that have taxis. You can even buy a coaster. That's a bigger car. Although now I see that schools are buying cars more and more because they get financing from their banks. They actually buy brand new cars, brand new buses, because they can get financing. But for those that cannot get financing yet, or that don't have capital to buy the buses, I find that for them it's easier to get a third party to do the transportation, because they eliminate the risk of repairs, they eliminate the risk of accidents. You get. Then they can put the blame on someone else. You get. And yeah, so that's another approach of ferrying kids. So in other words, you have a school van or a kids transport business. You get. So that's another approach you could use in the transport business in case you want to start it. So the other approach would be, and I've seen people do it, me, I have a small car. If I had a bigger car like a Wish, I would definitely get people from my estate to Kampala and back. But I have a small car, so I that can't work for me, because the seats behind are full of my people and their things, and then the seats in front I have my bag and my stuff, because sometimes I move with files, move with papers, yeah. So and the other approach would be that for you to ferry people that live on the same village with you. You go and talk to like 8 people, 7 people, depending on how much space your car has, and you tell them, if you're going to town, don't get a taxi. I'm your neighbor, I have a van or I have a car, I can go to work with you. You pay me the money you would have paid for a taxi. In the evening, I come back with you. You find me at a certain place. So you'll find that instead of if your neighbors are spending, and this works mostly for people that live outside town. You live in Bulenga, you live in Wachiso and all, and you have neighbors that normally take taxis. You talk to them, you tell them, okay, instead of taking a taxi that will take 7,000 from you or 6,000 and taking a border as well, why don't you give me 6,000? And then, let's say you have 6 people, okay? If you could manage to buy a Chigege, like I told you guys, for me, if I get the money to buy a Chigege, I'll definitely buy a Chigege, keep my Corolla and buy a Chigege. Because with the Chigege, then I have 10 more people. If I get 10 people at 6,000, just going to town, I make 60K. You get, and you drop them to town. That's good business. Coming back, you make another 60K. That's 120, and you're not a taxi person, so you're not going to pay anyone for authorization to drive it. So you're making 120,000 every day. Is it Kagamba? Even if you just charge if they are paying 6,000 back, you just tell them 5K. So they save 1K, but even you still, if they give you 100K and you have 10 people, you're making 100K daily. You're not buying fuel, so if you spend fuel 40,000, you make a 60,000. You make a 60,000 every day. This is a zebra crossing, by the way. See how the border guy has just gone away. So it's painful that actually schools have to hire someone to make kids cross at a zebra crossing. That's a very painful thing. It's a zebra crossing. You should be civilized enough to know that if kids are at zebra crossing, let me stop for them to cross. But going back, you guys, there are so many approaches. You imagine you come back to Kampala. Now I'm talking to the guys that are coming from abroad and they don't want to go back. Come back to Kampala with about 20 million. Instead of going to the bond and buying Raktis, why don't you guys just buy a Chigege of 20 million, touch take a taxi, but then talk to your neighbors, drop them to town every day, come back with them. Which mind, that's income alone. If you have your neighbors and they can pay you 5K, let's say you don't have people to take to work and school like me, and you can get 14 people in your taxi and they give you 5,000 to 5,000 back. Which take it, you're making 140 study car banja. So 140 deduct fuel of like 40, you make 100,000. How many people make 100,000 every day tax free? And you'd be making that money every day. And you pay the license you pay on the road would be the private motor vehicle. Which take it, you don't pay for taxi. And people get used to you. Year after year, you'll be keeping, if you have a taxi at 20 million, you make 100,000 every day. Let's say you use 20,000 for home. That means you make 80,000 every day gross profit. Okay, Bujake is a service and all. Let's just say 80,000. That makes you make 800. That means you make 1.6. Let's just say you keep 1.6. The rest knows go some maintenance here Moroka. 1.6. That means you make 16 million 10 months. Let's just say the other 2 months you don't have maintenance. You make 16 million every year just by ferrying your neighbors. That's an approach for business. My God. I'm Arthur. I'm taking driving lessons. Kindly talk about border business because I wanted to sell my bike and top up for a car, but I also realized I could invest in border business. I did talk about the business as I started, so you could watch this video again when it publishes. I talked about the border business. I talked about it. And if you're in border business, you're already in border business, then you definitely know more than me. You get, because you know all the loopholes, you know all the things that people do that make people make losses. You get. But let's I just want to make sure that we understand each other. Okay, I want to make sure that we understand each other. The approach I've given you of ferrying people, not necessarily that it will work. Depends on which neighborhood you're in. You might be in a neighborhood where people have cars, which take it. Then that means you will have to work a little harder to get the phone. But if you're in people that live in estates, it's not hard for you to get people that go to town. You'll be getting people calling you to book that on the Kencha. Like for me in my estate, people book Sarongo. We have a Sarongo there that has a taxi. There's only one taxi in an estate of over 500 people. And there are times he has the front seat, you see, as someone cruise our and 5 people in the front seat. It's supposed to have 2 passengers, but at times you can have 5 people. And then in the backyard, they are not going to get another transport means, they will up in that taxi. You get, so that's another approach you might want to think about. You get it, and it can make you money, by the way. Me, I've just done simple math, but you'll have to sit down and then reconsider it as a person, because it's individual. Can you actually handle people? Because now ferrying your neighbors means you have to have very good relations with your neighbors. When a neighbor loses, and by the way, when a neighbor loses a relative, people want to go for burial, your car is there. You get, there's so many ways you could actually give your number out to LCs in case they are going for burials. My car is here. You get, you'll find that it would actually make you money. You go to all LCs in your area, LC1, like 5 LC1s, telling the chairman, my car is here, my taxi. When you get a burial, when you get a Kwanjula and you need to go, so all you need to do is make sure your car is in good condition, take a Mocha TV and all that, and then you'll be making money before the taxi guys actually discover you're taking clients from them. And even your neighbors will be fighting for you. That's another approach, guys. You can think about it for the guys that have 20 million or more. You get, instead of buying a brand new car and putting it in Uber, that's an approach that would actually make you very sweet money. You get. Then we talked to a lorry guy, to lorry guys, and for them their argument was that oh, there is jam, I should be changing this phone to face me. Their argument was that if you want to buy a lorry for business, you're going to drive it yourself. If you're not going to be driving the lorry yourself, chances are high that you will hit someone, because If you watch the video from the Mosaic, where some people were saying he's lying, but then I did another interview with younger people our age, and the same people were also saying that the lorry business doesn't have that much business anymore. You can make losses if you're going to buy a lorry at 80 million and give it to someone. The only way they recommended was you actually drive it yourself. That's one way you can make money out of the lorry business. And I kind of agree, because unless it's something that people need these days, if people don't need your service or product, chances are high that you're going to make a loss if you invest in it. You get? So ideally, if you're going to be investing in the transport business, or you're buying a truck, I personally don't recommend it. I would recommend it to someone that has already done that business before, or you're in the business, but if you're not in that business. I have a brother that drives lorries, and he will tell you that the lorry business is to make daily money. It's not something that you could grow financially from. You get? But those are the small lorries we are talking about, the Elves, the Canters. You get? I've not talked about the Isuzus, those. But because I know my following, most of my followers here cannot raise 300 million to buy a Sinotruck. So I don't see a reason to do a Sinotruck unless, good morning, Barros, unless I get someone to actually asks me to go and do a video on a Sinotruck. But my followers here, Mbamanyi, so most of you don't have 300 million to go and invest in a Sinotruck. You get? To go and buy a Fuswat, 200 million. You get? Most of you, if you go 200 million, Ozimbe Mizigo, you don't know over stress, yes. Get? That's what I've learned about my followers. So I wouldn't want to do Katichenko business zengiza ko baba ya milioni 25 milioni 3 ukitegeera. And I've already calculated that for the lorry business, personally I wouldn't recommend it for a follower of mine, because ejja kutama. Ekisoka lorries are very hard to bwetandika okufa etama. You need someone that is already in the business, that has driven lorries themselves. So but you can think about it if it works for you. The other approach that could work for you, if you want to invest in the transport business, the other approach that I think you could consider is the approach of car for hire. Just this week, a friend of mine was calling me. He wants to hire a Land Cruiser for a week. But you need to understand that this is not daily income business. It's very hard to find that your car will be hired every day. There are days that the car will not be hired. You need to understand that. There are days your car will be parked at a budget of 10. But those cars are hired for like 100,000, 150. You get? So if you had 20 million and bought two cars at 10 million each, if you're lucky to get people that hire themselves to drive at 100,000 every day, that would literally mean that you could probably you could get 200,000 daily. But like I've said, it's not a guaranteed. You get? But even the school kid ferrying business, it's not guaranteed every day, because there are holidays, there are lockdowns. You get? There are those days that you will not be, your van will not be making money. But besides, you need to factor in. You need to factor in all these. You need to factor in all these irregularities in the business. You get? So that's the transport business from my angle. From my angle, from where I see it from, the transport business can work for you either way. That you can either do a taxi business, you can do school van business, you can ferry your neighbors to town and back, and we've done the math. It can actually make you a lot of money, and that's tax free, because nobody is going to actually find out why James has a van. You can tell them njivuga nengenda mu town. Njivuga nengenda mu town. It's not for transport. It's not for taxi business. You get it? So so I think that's it for now. We have also said you could buy a lorry a truck, if you can. But we have also talked about border business. The biggest risk for border business is riders. For my friend here who has been asking me to talk about it, who is called Joseph. The biggest risk for borders is actually the riders themselves. Okay, the problem is not the borders themselves, because if you bought a border that is new at 5.5, there is no problem. It's new, Kaveda. It's not, the engine is not going to break down. You get, it's not going to die anything. But you will find a rider that does not pay. You get, you'll find a rider that does not pay, and that will be a very big problem for you. So me, I find that for the border business, the biggest risk is the rider themselves. You need to make sure that you get a rider that has a driver's license, for example. And if they have a rider's license, make sure you give your border third party, because that's the biggest thing that borders, they don't have third party. Yet we all know that for you to put an automobile on the road, you need to have third party. The only chiduka on the road that doesn't have third party is a bicycle. But tricycles, there's a tukutuku, the motorcycles, the pichi, the cars, the taxis, all are supposed, good morning David, they all are supposed to have third party. You get what I'm saying? So make sure that the border has third party. Make sure your rider has a driver's license. If they don't have a helmet, buy it for them. Now there is reflector jackets. You get it? And then border again, which I've said again, the rider is the biggest risk for your border business. But ideally, it would be a good business. But I've also said it breaks even in 2.5 years. That's if you buy a new motorbike. 2.5 years. If you get a good rider in 2.5 years, you'll find that you don't repair that much. But like I said, it gives you 10k a day, which is around 2.8 a year. So if you put back like 400 back into maintenance, that's why I said you need at least 2.5 years, 2 years and a half to get your money back that you invested in that border. I don't know if I make sense. I'm about to go. I need to go make some money. They gave me a check that I believe is not good, but I'm going to try and bank it. Yeah. So you guys, it's of course for the company. It's not my send a company and send a company. So like I've said, you need to learn the best practice of business. The company account is different. Your account is different. You get it. So if you're not bigger, when you open a border business, if you're serious about this business and you have some company you want, like this Joseph that wants to add borders, business yadara, when someone comes to sign an agreement, you see why they take the Tugende guys seriously, because they are not dealing with any individual, they are dealing with the company. But many company just to know, yeah. You find the border guy is saying, baba company bazibu. So register the business, let the people sign agreements with the business, with the company. They will not play with your money. They will not play with your border. You get it? So remember when I told you to be careful with the UG guys. I'm not going to show the number plate, but that's a UG guy. Because achimanyi tunache tuyenza mukola. Ira agenda kujja yenyige wafu nebo yenyigamu bakulu bulavu gagende. You get what I'm saying? So border business should be profitable, but a lot of people are crying. But like I said, I think most people are crying because we are not patient as Ugandans. To turn a business to survive, we don't start businesses to manage them to grow and make us a lot of money in the future. You start a business when you want to put a border today on the road, and you want to buy meat with the money that it brings that very day. Ideally, that's not how business works. You get. Some businesses don't break even until after 10 years. Safe borders don't broken even. Send the battle take safe border. Tebanda zijjayo. Send the bakateka mu Jumia. I think Jumia is a big business. Tebanda zijjayo. You get what I'm saying? That's why you find that some people start businesses and sell them. You saw like Bari Bajitabata Gigi. They used to call it OLX. So those guys started the business and then they sold it. Why? They do not have enough money to manage it until it would make profit. That's why they sold it to someone that can actually manage. The same thing happened to Orange. Orange yagwanga tenda breaking even in Uganda. Elsewhere so Rokubanga breaking even, but here in Uganda it failed. The same thing happened to, what was that business? Vodafone. You get, so you need to understand, guys, as you're going to start a transport business, that transport business is as normal as any other business. The problem with Ugandans is that for us, we don't run businesses the way they are supposed to be run. Like you see, I've told you, have a different account for your business, so that as a sentence, because you will be required to actually pay tax. Like for us now, we are starting to the income tax rate. Like me, I'm paying in December for last year. So now it's time for actually to get your receipts in order, your payment vouchers, and then you go and pay income tax. You get, income tax is money you pay off your gross profit. You get, income tax is not tax, contrary to what people think. Of course, it's a lot of tax, but everywhere, even in the US, people pay a lot of tax. Income tax you pay off of your profits, your gross profits. Okay, let's imagine that your business made 10 million this year, and off of the 10 million, okay, you spent some money to maintain your business. You paid salaries and all. Now the money that remains, the money that you just take home for eating, that's the money that URA taxes, and they take 30% off of it. That's income tax. Every business, every individual, because after filing taxes for my business, then I have to file taxes for myself. You get, so we pay income tax. I also pay 30%. The business also pays 30%. You get, so always remember that. But it's important that you understand that there is no business that will break even in a year. Otherwise, if it breaks even in a year, that means it was very well capitalized. But in Uganda, I've found that most people don't really capitalize their businesses properly. We survive. We survive. So what we do with survival is that if I'm going to be selling laptops, and I've done the math, and I need to have 100 laptops if I'm going to make sense in my business. I'll buy 5 laptops, and then I use the profit from the 5 laptops to get a 6th laptop, and then 7th laptop, until I make 100 laptops. And that way the business cannot break even for about 20 years. You get what I'm saying? But some people don't even know, because they don't do the numbers. They never know that, okay, kakati, I need an extra time to break even. But anyway, that's a story for another day. What you need to do. The people that drive small cars like me, you can join apps like Uber. There is an app that is called now Vegeta Bolt. It used to be called Taxify. Safe Border also has now Safe Car. You can join those apps and you ferry people around town. They order you using the app. You guys know that. But also the other approach you could do is that you could enter the special hire business. You pay for a stage somewhere and you park there. You could do both. Pay for a stage, park there, but also do Uber. I find that for me, I had an uncle that used to do that business, and he died a poor man, very poor man, and he went to the stage every day. You get, a friend of mine had his dad. Apparently, when they were growing up, their mother raised them, and she kept telling them, "Tata mwa innocent, naita bafako, tata mwa innocent, naita bafako." The guy only learned later on in life that the dude was actually not having money because of the business he was doing. It wasn't really. You get what I'm saying? So it's you need to understand some businesses, because some businesses are for survival. They don't really help you develop as a person. That's why you find that some men can't actually even can't even pay for school fees for their kids, because the businesses they are doing don't make enough money to take care of a home, pay school fees, take care of medical, and even take care of themselves. So you need to understand that some businesses are actually painful to do. You'll find that a border guy makes more money than a special hire guy, because regardless of the fact that the border guy pays 10K to the border owner, you'll find that the border guy takes home 30,000. You get, especially if they get a new border, because a new border, every passenger wants to sit on it. So I hope I make sense. I personally always tell you that Uber is not a business that you should do thinking that you're going to be able to effectively look after your family. You get, I tell people, Uber, you should not come home and depend on Uber. I tell people, but some of them of course don't listen. Most of them don't listen. But for you to depend on Uber, for you to say that, okay, now Uber is what I'm going to do for a living. You get it? But I find that if you can afford to 10 million to buy a car, don't buy a car and think that Uber should be. You'd rather buy border borders, 2 border borders. And then you will know that I make 20,000 a day without actually working. That's my opinion. You get? That's why normally when someone asks me that they want to do Uber, I ask them, yes, you want to do Uber, but what other job do you do? What other business do you have? You get? Because Uber is okay, but with Uber, you actually need to have supplement. Uber should be a supplementary income. When I get off from work in the afternoon, then I go and drive Uber. Or when I get off of work in the evening, then I go and drive Uber. That's how it should be. It should not be that you wake up in the morning and think to do Uber. You get what I'm saying? So you guys, unless you have questions, I have to go. I'm pulling into a parking, so I'm going to give you a few minutes as I park for you to give me your questions. So for the guys that above Kampala, this is what we go through every day. Jam caused by reckless drivers and border guys that want to squeeze everywhere. You find that the car would have fitted, but it can't fit because well, they are border guys. And of course, disorganized drivers abatamanyi lane yaabwe adda left n'abeera mu lane ya right. Kitegeera. So I don't know if I will even get parking where I'm going, because I'm going to this Equity here. Yeah. Transport is actually a good business if you have the required capital and you get good people to manage and work for you in that business. It's a good business. We have seen people that looked after their kids using transport as a business. And you guys, I keep telling you, you guys, you buy cars that you can actually manage to put enough fuel. So take them like quarter tank minimum. You get? Ebintu bino biswaza. Kati ono Alteza emusiseko. Why? Because I know bavuga Yamaha. Nabagamba when you're buying an Alteza, the keyword should be Beams 2000. Beams 2000. Beams 2000 should be your keyword. Okay, I've reached my parking. Yes? I'm parking. So, you guys, I have to go. No questions for me. At Kambasibule. I hope we have covered. I think we have covered intensively. I think one of the most important things that you guys needed to understand was that transporting business is normal business. It's like starting a TV station. It's like starting a school. It's like starting a pharmacy. It needs time to break even. It needs time to start making profit for you. So that's one thing I think we needed to understand. So when you start when you buy a taxi, so thank you very much for taking the time to actually be here, guys. Nicholas, Brian, Martha, Seth, Ruke Joseph, Mwesigwa Isaac, Steve Barros and Eguma David. Thank you very much for being here. You can share this video with everyone that wants to start a transport business in Uganda. It's very, very helpful. I think even I myself, when I'm saying these things, then I also remember, because sometimes we know what to do, but then we don't do because we think we can actually get away with it, because other people get away with doing things the wrong way. So we think, okay, and I get away with it. But sometimes wrong is wrong, right is right. You get, the right way to run business has always been the right way, and it has never changed. So it's important that you don't think that because someone has done the business the wrong way and they survived, that you will also survive. You may not be able to survive, and by the way, you may lose all your capital. So you guys have a very nice day. Mukama abakume. Amaso ganuma, by the way. But them manide to have glasses on all the time. So you guys, Mukama abakume. Let's meet when we meet again. Probably tomorrow I'll do a broadcast in the evening. I'll not do a broadcast in the morning. Weekends I can't do broadcast in the morning. I'll do a broadcast in the evening, and you will see what I'll be talking about. Ciao.